Right now we can see the arrival of President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi to inaugurate the new Mansoura city and also the University of New Mansoura. Well, very important moments, arrival at the headquarters of New Mansoura city, where the president right now will enter inside to start this important ceremony of the inauguration of the new Mansoura city. And again, we are talking about the new Mansoura city as one of the most important cities in industry as well as industrial city, because we are talking about a new hub also for many different sectors, especially now when we talk about a new city. Also, we take into consideration building and providing all the facilities required for the new city. We're talking about medical centers, we're talking about education, universities to provide education for the citizens, also all aspects that might be needed for such a huge project.
عبد الفتاح السيسي رئيس الجمهورية.
Seeing the arrival of President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi at headquarters of New Mansoura city to inaugurate New Mansoura city and the university over there. We can see that New Mansoura city is one of the cities affiliated to the New Urban Communities Authority. Actually, it was built according to a Republican decree in 2017 to be used to build a new urban community. We talk about this city, we talk about how important it is, whether we are talking about the number of residents over there, talking about the projects to be provided to the citizens, talking about many different sectors. We are talking about residential neighborhoods, places of worship, medical care centers, commercial and service buildings, water treatment and desalination plants, and power transformers. So we are talking about a huge system actually taking place in New Mansoura city, same like many other new smart cities that were built in Egypt. In addition, that also President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi gave his directives to scrutinize all the services that will be provided to the new Mansoura city and to carry out all what is needed to build this new cities according to the international infrastructure.
مدينة المنصورة الجديدة التي تربعت على عرش المدن الساحلية الواقعة على البحر
on the Mediterranean Sea to the Alexandria city and the New Alamein city and the northern coast. Due to its unique geographical positions between the agricultural areas and toward Al-Delta, in specifically the Dakhaliya governorate, where it is located the middle of the governorates of Dakhaliya, Kafr Sheikh and Maita, and it's a way of Kamasa of 60 kilometers and 20 kilometers of the Al-Mansoura, the capital of Al-Dakhaliya governorate, around 50 kilometers, to be a promising, attractive to all the people of the Delta Governorate. The location of the new Mansoura city, specifically on the international coastal road, to cover an area of 14 kilometers. It's extended to Kafr al-Sheikh road.
تابعنا منذ قليل مشاهدينا الكرام وصول
followed the arrival of His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, the President of the Republic, to the new Mansoura city to inaugurate a new city in a new plot of Egypt land. The total area of the new Mansoura city is about 2,300 fiddan. It's been executed of the first phase and a part of the second phase, to be in total 2,500 fiddans of 7,200 fiddans, which is the total area of the new Mansoura city. And on lengths of 15 kilometers of more than 5 billion pounds of the first investment. We're talking about a city that linked the three governorates of the Al Delta area. We're talking about Al Dakhaliya, Kafr al-Sheikh and Maita. And of course, to provide a new escalated means of transportation to maintain the safety of the Egyptian citizen. It's been executed to build, it is planned to build new electrical train stations to link the new Mansoura on the new cities. And it is divided to 4 phases. Today we're about to inaugurate the first phase of it that includes the 3 types of housing projects: housing, middle class housing and touristic housing. And if any investment would execute a city like that, to think of the investment and touristic project specifically to be as it is actually at the shore of the Mediterranean Sea, and to be in the middle hub of priorities, which are the limited income and middle-class citizen. A number of housing units being built, among which the services of the first phase of the new Mansoura city. We're talking about 10 commercial areas, 8 malls and schools of different disciplines. 2 schools were being executed of 2 and 42 classes and on an area of 127 fiddan of the first phase being executed. And the school started of this year of 6 colleges since the last school term. In addition to private universities and commercial buildings and plants of fuel and cars maintenance and medical center and a number of mosques, whether they are central and local mosques, and a church and a control room that affiliated to the main control room, which is one of the most important features of the smart cities, to be governed and operated by the high technological facilitation. Mr. President Abdel Fattah Sisi, the President of the Republic. Peace be upon you all. Please be seated. Your Excellency, Mr. President Abdel Fattah Sisi, the President of the Republic, ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you in the new Mansoura city, a city that was a dream today has become to reality, and thanks to the willing of the Egyptians and a great developmental and urban project, a new achievement of the new republic, the new Mansoura city, the city of the fourth generation, a new pride of the Mediterranean Sea, a model of the comprehensive development that include different projects of housing, touristic services and infrastructure projects and others. To overcome challenges and difficulties achieved in a very short while, one of the biggest features of Egypt and that made the Egyptian experience a role model of executions. To have a look in details of just a project, Dr. Asim Al-Ghazar, the Minister of Housing and Facilities and New Urbans, is to highlight the project. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most passionate, Your Excellency, Mr. President Abdel Fattah Sisi, the President of the Republic, ladies and gentlemen, peace be upon you all. We meet today, Your Excellency, Mr. President, to fruit one of the economic development fruits of the new republic. Hence, allow me, Mr. President, to talk whether it is an economic development plan or an open development plan. That would lead us to the concept of open. In the concept of the Egyptian state, as it is stipulated in our directives you laid out, it's the absorber of development. When the open was the observer of development, let's get back to the development in the Delta region that consists of 5 governorates, the Qalaq of Sheikh and Dodmaita, of 20.6 million people, of an area 1.2% of the whole area of the Republic. When you look at to the comparison of the delta of other regions, you will find it is the second biggest one of the population of 21 million population that followed the Great Cairo regional of 25 million people. Yet it has the minimum opportunities to observe foreign urban communities of services. When we look at it, we'll find it that it is filled on top of whether they are the main economic activities, as it is the region relied on the agricultural and fishing activities. Basically, it's in rural areas of highest population, more than 400 people, if done, in areas that provide economic and services activities in order to improve the quality of life. How to develop it economically? The development we talk about is the safety of citizens, how to escalate the quality of life economically for the citizens in light of the congestion. When you look at the other features of the urban context, which is the imbalance of distribution. The percentage of urban in the Republic of 45%, and in the Delta is 28% only. Throughout the world represents 55% of the whole population, and it's credited to the GDP is coming from the modern area. And when you look at the figures before us, you'll find that they are weak economics that reflect the quality of work opportunities that are minimum, unemployment, even the levels of services, educations, opportunities of development are very limited. That would give us indicators for the development. We should study it, and in order to make decisions. Even when we look at the number of populations in the rural areas, you'll find that there is a features of a delta that a number of citizens in the 70s were 40 cities. In 2022 are 60. The increased numbers are not new urban communities, but they are villages often very of the population size were bigger. That would make it lack of development opportunities, and for other administrative considerations were returned to cities. But they have the features of the rural areas. Most of their people work in other agricultural activities and others such as fishing. Therefore, the 28% they are not real, but has rural features. The third phenomenon that led to the compelling features that being attached to the rural urban communities, and that led to intact villages that looked random buildings, but they are empty, and the rural urban were entered and being intact with them altogether. With our studies of the development observed, with the solution to be in the urban extension to observe all the activities. It is a dire question, and comes in and now. And then in 2010 we started to do urban planning for the most delta cities. In the 2010 to 2012 there are 6 models of the cities such as Tanta and Mansoura were added. The new plans in added areas of the urban size that are allocated for building, that they are at the highest level. During the last 12 years, how many percent were built of such areas? How many are still unbuilt? In Tanta, 42% are not developed. In Mansoura, 69% are not developed. In Talha, 38%, and Zifta, 39% as so. So we expanded the size, and we never give it us. How in Tanta it is equal 18% of the added areas outside the size. In Mansoura, 28% were built outside. Therefore, 40% in Talha will find that the areas are expanded. The outcome, it is not the solution, is not just to expand and limit the rural and agricultural land. there is a privilege of building on their owned plots that would enter the land in a rate of the population rate zero. They're not going to buy a Ferdinand of a cost of 58,000 Egyptian pound that reached to 700. Therefore, we are going to waste the agricultural land. Otherwise, the empty land of the 69% would be occupied in the last 12 years. There were no real demand attached to the economic values and other. It's the same for the activities in just paying to buy a flat or an apartment or a plot because of no work to do. The rate of the economic activities in the delta is 1.5 acres. Can we imagine that the income would fulfill a family of more than 4 acres a year would reach, if we divide the outcome of the agricultural plot, whether for the community or the individuals, that would require another intervention of expansion. The urban scientists that would be in favor or would affect the main outcome. In 2010, the area of the new Mansoura city would be added of 35% of the block that covered of the red, and the black is the urban size allocated for building. So the block were 6,000 within that observed 640 population, and only 31% were built, and the rest throughout the 12 years were never been built. These are the areas were built outside the urban sizes during the last 12 years. All cities of Delta included in the study. In total, we had from 22 to 30% of the added urban sizes in the last 15 years outside the size, and there are sizes within, are not the current, of 85 still empty spaces and lands that will never be used. This is from the studying the context in total. We do look at the development content with it be distorted or had an flaws in order to move and take actions. This is the title of the Delta urban sizes, the 40s and 60s, at the beginning of the 60s on the right, Cherubim, lower to Tanta on the north, where are Al-Mansoura, features that actually paid attention to the human measurement, to the land, to the green landscapes that to confirm or to reflect the culture of the community and the commitment of the building and urban roles. When we studied, we'll find would achieve all the achievement of the 7th article of the National Strategy of the Human Rights to the right of the affordable housing. The 7 factors we studied would achieve them in total. When it developed, what happened in the past and currently, even with maintained in the old character that had distortions of the urban features as a result of the exceeding of the limited limit due to the intervented activities, as a result that the beneficiary on the level of the individuals vis-à-vis the collective loss. When we maintained, when we changed, we've moved to urban that would concern to the human measurement without focusing only in the financial value. And we had a full satisfaction without any pain or without paying any attention to these rules, the congestions, culture, unidentified, urban, to the maximum status when we found the unrational beneficiaries that wouldn't be possible to be a housing. It's an idea of housing coming from being quiet that will be an exceeding of all the human values of the urban, as well as the visual distortion vis-à-vis pursuing the financial values on the level of the individual, the communities, and other services without any rules to be resorted to. Pursuing such a falsified features that they are imagining by building such a building would gain all the economic returns that would be coming from such a place. I cannot just say it or call it a housing, a resorted building for many years to be like that. It wouldn't achieve the right of housing because it has no security of possession, because it's an illegal building without any facilitation. If we apply the 7 fixtures when we achieved our doctrine, which is the round growth, and would be having a distorted urban building surrounded of a set of buildings, there peoples working in the marginalized works. That would require an intervention by the state to stop or to have an end of the unoriented growth, to evaluate the situations and taking decisions to correct the path. When we study it, we've discovered that it is a must to add vast spaces to contain and absorb all the activities. We don't wish to find a place for the activities, but a place for the living. Or in villages, you'll find houses built by people and they live in another areas, and it's been always empty. The corrections measurement through a set of state decisions to develop the status quo that in a process of replacement and training. To say an example, not only in the Delta, but in one of the projects of developing and raising the efficacy for urban in the Al-Madabar area of having a polluted activities. When we have made the escalation or the raising the efficacy, all the touristic workers among of those operating the big hotels, because we had 2 hotels in these areas. When they are being developed, they wanted to be there. This would tell us how, by raising the efficacy of the places, to raise the economic values. That cannot be done before. It is a work on the content, the context, which is one of the state orientations to minimize the populations in the delta cities by building new cities and to achieve the urban pattern to link the conditioned populations by activities to help the citizen to raise their economic situation through the provision of the new urban communities to the villages and the delta cities. Even the 31%, Your Excellency, Mr. President, that have been extended in the urban possession were all housing buildings. Naturally, they are private plots. Therefore, without any service and economic activities, the 31% are housing buildings. We're not going to expand in the position to contain populations. We'll do this firstly. It's an economic decision. Are there any demand for economic activities would require the increase in the number of population or not? The solution in the larger scale, the state started by building new cities, Al-Sadat and Damietta. New cities, even they never solved the problem at all. If we look at the number of population in Al-Sadat city, we'll find that where they are coming from, 90% of them were coming from Al-Munafiyya governorate. Yet the solution gained its fruits, and all the people came from a city of industrial activities by the provision of the working opportunities. At the beginning, people used to make journeys into and outside the cities without, because how the social housing project changed the feature of demand of the new cities. The state in return made an arrow, and 1,000 arrow from the north to the west, started of the new Port Said and the new Al-Ismailiyya, Sphinx and Al-Sadat, new Nubureya, towards Al-Alamein to attract whether they are the people of the Delta or the other governorates, Al-Bahira and Al-Sharqiyya, outside such a valley of a fulfilled, contained and with